Hi and welcome students. In today's Computer Fundamentals tutorial, I'm going to be going over the Graphical User Interface for the Windows 10 desktop. Let's get started. Before I can really dive into Windows 10, we do need to know what is a Graphical User Interface. A graphical user interface, or GUI, is a system of interactive visual components for computer software. So this software can be on Windows 10, which I'm going to discuss today, or it can be on a Mac if you use a Mac, or an iPad or Android tablet, or an iPhone or Android phone. So, and it doesn't really have to even stop there. It could be the cash register system that you use or a gaming console that you play on. And the GUI will display objects that convey information and represent actions that can be taken by the user. So obviously the actions that you have on your phone are going to be a lot different from the ones that you might use on a desktop computer. Uh, Alternatively, you might be looking at a game console that has completely different options from a cash register system that you're using. So it really just depends on the type of computer that you're using. That will give you the different objects that can change color, size, or visibility when the user interacts with them. So on today's tutorial, I'm going to talk about the GUI when it comes to the Windows 10 desktop and what you can expect to see and kind of how those buttons and commands are set up on the desktop so that you can use the desktop a little bit easier. I'm also going to be going over some computer shortcuts and some helpful tips along the way that I use in Windows 10 that should help you out as well. So, the graphical user interface again is the look and feel of the system. So when we're talking about the desktop on Windows 10, we're talking about not only the desktop, but the start menu, the taskbar, and the recycling bin. So I'm going to go over each of these in detail. Now, what you see here on the right is a picture of the Windows 10 desktop. This is the main workspace of Windows 10, and this is a picture that I got from the internet because it really had everything that I was looking for within this picture. So one of the cool things is you could put files on your desktop, but also one of the worst things that you could do is put files on your desktop. It really just depends on your preference here. I've seen a lot of people that save a lot of files to their desktop, and I don't know if I've mentioned this on my channel before, but my dad has a bad habit of doing this where he puts so many files on his desktop that it actually fills up the entire area and goes off the desktop. So it kind of defeats the purpose. But so, as a word of caution, I say only put the things that you really, really need on your desktop. As something that, personally I do, I only keep one folder on my desktop, and that's because I use it with my school students, and so that's really the only thing I keep as far as the files, or folders rather. So files and folders. So you'll see here we have a couple Excel files on this picture. We have a couple folders like right here, and up here that are available. And then you can also see you can have a desktop background. This is the default Windows 10 desktop background, and you can change this up by right clicking and clicking personalize, and you can actually put your own background on there. And I have a video on that in my Computer Fundamentals tutorial on my playlist on YouTube. Lastly, these act as shortcuts. Okay, so shortcuts. If it's taking you longer to look through this list of files, folders, and applications to find what you're looking for, it's no longer a shortcut. So I like to always say, keep the start menu simple if you can. Okay, the desktop simple if you can. There's really not a lot of point on adding a lot to this, and I'll show you why in just a moment. Well, the next part of our desktop here is the start menu, okay? And so I got this picture online as well. And so a couple things that you need to know about the start menu is how to open it. First off, you're going to click the Windows icon. That's this icon right down here in the bottom left, okay? And when you click that, it's going to open up a start menu that looks something like this. Now, this one looks pretty default, like it hasn't been changed too much. And so it'll give you a lot of different options here. So one other way to open this, by the way, is the Windows key on your keyboard, and that's in the bottom left as well of your keyboard, but it's next to Control. So if you click that, it'll open up your Start menu. And the Start menu is pretty good. It's pretty useful. It displays all your apps in alphabetical order. So these, I hardly ever use this, and I'll show you why in just a moment. But it does show you your apps in A to Z order, and so that's pretty good. And then the documents, okay, it'll show you your documents. If you click over here, there's a little documents icon that'll pop up, and it's not on this picture, but it's a little folder icon. It also shows you your pictures. There's a shortcut to pictures that's now here. And then finally your settings, which is pictured in this right here, settings. Okay. Now I only really use the start menu to find things. And so right here, it says how to search. You hit the start menu and then immediately start typing. So this could be an application that you're looking for, a file, a folder, really anything. So that is one of the main reasons I use the start menu. So I really don't use it for, going in here and searching for things, or sorry, not searching for things, but I don't use it to click on any of these things because anything that I use often, I have that in my taskbar. Okay, the taskbar I think is the most useful part of the graphical user interface for the Windows 10 desktop. I love the taskbar, and here's why. First off, the taskbar defaults. Okay, you got your defaults that are there when you first buy your computer. Cortana search, completely useless, remove. Am I telling you guys that Cortana as a search engine in Windows 10 is useless? Absolutely not. It's very useful, but you don't need it on your taskbar. Like this whole section here, where you search, it takes up such a big chunk of the taskbar that I remove it entirely. Okay, and so you say, okay, well that's what I use to search things. Well, how am I going to search? Well, as I said in the previous slide, to search, you just hit the Windows key and start typing. So you say, oh, but I like to click in this little spot. Well, think about it. What, you're going to take your mouse, go down here and click, and then start typing on your keyboard? You're moving your hands around from mouse to keyboard. It's unnecessary. Instead, just again, hit the Windows key icon right there, or the Windows key on your computer, okay, on your keyboard, and then start typing. It does the exact same thing. So yes, Cortana is useful. However, this block that's being used on your desk or on your taskbar is not useful. You might as well remove it. Okay. Next up, File Explorer. Useful, very useful. Don't remove File Explorer. This is one of those things where occasionally I'll get a student that removes File Explorer. It's one of those programs you're definitely going to want to keep here. Okay, and then finally, Windows Store. I don't ever use the Windows Store. Some people do for games and things like that, but if you never use it, anything you don't use on here, remove it. Okay, you see Mail over here, you can remove that too if you're using Outlook. So then you say, all right, well, I've like removed everything from my taskbar. How do I actually add programs there? And so the way that you add programs to this part, which is what I think is the most useful, because if I were to click on this right here, which is Microsoft Edge on my taskbar, I just click it once, it opens up. Okay, so then that makes back here, the desktop, having them over here, useless. We don't do this because if we put them over here on the desktop, now I have to find PowerPoint and double click it. Okay, not as easy as going down here and just clicking once on the taskbar. And one other great thing about the taskbar is you could actually move all these tiles around, and so you could have them in a very specific order so that you know exactly where they're at, and you just go down there and click on them. Okay, so how do you get your programs down there? Well, you search for the app in the start menu. Again, you do that by pressing the start button on your keyboard and searching for it. Say it's Microsoft Word. Type in WORD and it will pop up with Word. Next, when that pops up, you go up to where it says Word in the start menu, which will be listed like right in here. Okay, you right click it and you click pin to taskbar and it'll pin it down here at the end. And then to move them around, you just click and drag them. All right. Finally, to remove something, as I mentioned before, I'd remove Cortana, I remove the task view, I remove Edge if I don't use it, and I right click it and then I click unpin from taskbar. So the taskbar is really kind of what I like to use as my central navigation on the Windows 10 desktop. Okay. Finally, the recycling bin. This is something that's always going to kind of be on your desktop. The recycle bin is when you delete a file, it moves it to the recycling bin, and then this allows you to recover the file later. So a lot of people think if you delete a file, it's gone forever. That's not the case. It just gets moved into the recycling bin. For instance, it's like throwing trash away in your house. Okay. Well, if you throw trash in the trash can at your house, technically it's not gone forever. You just have to dig it out of the trash. but once you take that trash out to the dumpster outside or whatever, and it gets taken away by the truck, that's when it's gone. So if it's just in the recycling bin, it's okay. It could be restored. And so when you delete a file, it moves it to the recycling bin. And then finally, it allows for file recovery. So you can go back in there and right click the file and click restore, and it will bring it back into its original folder location. If you need a tutorial on this, I have one on my Windows 10 tutorials list. So you can go to that playlist and you'll see it there. To permanently delete a file, you go to the recycling bin. You To go to the recycling bin, it's always on your desktop. You double click it to go into it, and then you click in the recycle bin tools tab, and then you go to the manage group and you click empty recycling bin, and that will remove the recycling, or that'll empty the recycling bin, so it's empty like this. All right, so you might be wondering, how does my desktop look? Well, you can see it right here. Okay, so mine is very simple. I have my recycling bin up here in the top left, and I have one folder right here. That's what I use for my classes live streams. So I only keep it here because that way my students can see it. Otherwise, this would be completely empty. As far as my desktop background, I keep it just gray because I don't really want to put up a picture here since I'm recording, and so I just keep it very simple. And so I just put it as a gray background. And then down here, you'll see my start menu. Okay. And then you'll see all of the apps that I use in a very specific order. Word, I got Outlook, Word, Excel, and so on. So these are all the apps that I use, and as I use them, I pin them down here. So whatever I'm using, I pin down here. And again, you can right click on them and go to unpin from taskbar if I wanted to as well, to remove these things. As always, I can drag them to move them around as I was explaining earlier. So hopefully this video has taught you a little bit more about how the graphical user interface works on the Windows 10 desktop and how I personally use it. Remember, there are some best practices, but at the end of the day, however you organize your desktop should work well for you. And so hopefully this video has done a little bit to maybe get you thinking about how you want to organize your desktop. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. If you like this content, I have Windows 10 tutorials in a playlist on my YouTube channel, as well as computer fundamentals and a variety of other Microsoft Office programs as well. So anyway, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.